IPDET 2015. We have a more informal evening event for you with a little bit more informal format tonight that I hope you will enjoy. I know some of you are feeling a little bit fatigued. You're working really hard on those presentations, on your design matrices, your theories of change. So we have something a little bit different for you tonight. We have brought back two of our distinguished graduates from prior years. One of them is from our very first year of operation. From IPDET 2001, Kathyrn Jobes. And Kathryn, if you'd come forward. Kathryn is recently retired, and she has been I think you're still a distinguished senior fellow. Yeah. I think that's forever, at the Distinguished Senior Fellow at the Norman Paterson School of International Affairs here at Carleton University. And she's always been interested in the private sector, in small businesses and how small businesses develop and grow. And she has spent many years on that and advising organizations, especially the Inter-American Development Bank, the World Bank, including the International Finance Development Bank, the Asian Development Bank, UNDP, and others. She is former chairman of the board of the Canadian Foundation for the Americans, known as FOCAL. She has managed a multinational fund replenishment process resulting in 32 national governments pledging $500 million in new grants and agreeing to new priorities and modalities. She's also served as Canadian High Commissioner Ambassador to Jamaica, the Bahamas, and Belize. And she's been director of the Policy and Trade Intelligence Divisions in the Department of Foreign Affairs in Canada. But we are very interested in hearing about all those years from IPDET 2001 to IPDET 2015 and how she has learned or applied, or how the experiences of IPDET sort of prepared her for the real world and all those experiences that she has had. So we welcome Kathryn very much to here. Kathryn, take a seat. I think I'll be in the middle. Why don't you take here or the end? Eric, Serge Yakeu, formerly, has been a much more recent graduate. He has graduated from IPDET 2013. Yep. So he's a more recent graduate. We're sort of contrasting the different years. And he has been president of the African Evaluation Association, known to many of you by its acronym AFRIA. And he is a professor, lecturer, consultant, and has been a consultant to many organizations such as FAO and IPDET. And he is working as an international evaluation resource consultant, chairs many workshops, conferences. He's active in IDEAS and in the Cameroon Development Evaluation Association. He has created a private organization called the Support Center for Evaluation and Rural Development in Cameroon, which provides technical assistance at the local and the regional levels. So tonight, I'm going to be moderator, and I'm going to move to the middle seat. So, if this mic works. So we have some questions, and we're going to ask our two panelists to talk, respectively, for about 4 to 5 minutes, maybe, respond to each question with their experiences. And to open things up, 2013, 2001, we'd like to hear a bit about their IPDET experiences and what are some of their memories of IPDET that really stand out in their minds. What are some of their reflections? And since Eric's are more recent, we'll have Eric go first, and we'll give Kathryn a little more time to reflect. She has to dig more into the memory banks. So Eric, if you'd go first.
Thank you, Linda. I have to say that being impressed with Kathryn's, with a very huge bio, I was asking myself, guys, you still have a lot of things to do to achieve what she did. Anyway, thank you so much. You know, we always learn from those who are in front of you. Being in IPDET in 2013, I have to say was a great achievement for me, because I used to apply 4 times before being selected. No matter my, let's say, 4 times. I started applying in 2009. And then I met some graduate in Finland, in Helsinki.
In Helsinki.
Exactly. And then I met Linda also.
And I said, keep trying.
I said, Linda, but what's happening with IPDET? How are we applying? But I'll never be selected. He said, oh, just keep trying. I said, okay, I will try again for the last time. Then finally, I got the chance to be in IPDET. I have to say that since I joined IPDET in 2013, no matter the fact that I was an evaluator with other certificate in evaluations, from IFAT, from Senegal, or from FAO, or from the World African Foundations based in Dakar, I found myself, even as a new, maybe a junior evaluator. When you join IPDET, I think you have 3 main things. You gather and go back home or to your institutions. The first things, for me, is networking. Networking, I learned that joining groups, sharing with each other. So, you know, you are coming from the world. You have Asia, you have Africa, you have Latin America, you have Europe, you have, the world at IPDET. I don't think we have another training like IPDET where you can gather so many people from different spheres of the world. Then being part of network, and then in each continent you have a network, or also at the country level. It helped a lot. I met so many people. I still remember Pablo. I still remember, I can't forget his name, from Moldova. Mm-hmm. We were sharing the same flat together. And then we joined for the first time in Barbados. Exactly, we just met together in the same flat. When we just said that, I think all of you will get 1-year membership to IDEAS. At that time, when I got the same message, I said, oh, another year additionally to my membership. The second thing, before ending with the networking, because this only sphere where you are going to improve your skill and capacity, of course, from my personal experience. You know, you receive newsletters, many things for free. You order your computers, gather where you can save other opportunities. The second thing is friendship. You know, I love soccer. And in America, we say soccer, right? But in Africa and Europe, we say football. You know, friendships is very important. Then I was part of the football teams with Colton. I still remember Colton. I don't know where is the guy. I was looking to get him here together. Colton was one of the students helping IPDET in 2013. We established a kind of patchwork friendship on Facebook. Until today, we are friends. We get a lot of fun. I still remember the last day, the final, we played together with another team. I think Julia was there as, we call Julia as moderator, as some kind of funders. She came with water and many things to support the team. I have to agree that it was tough. But you never forget friends you met at IPDET. Because with these friends, you share so many things together. It helps you to be in touch all the time. Of course, there are many leisure activities from where we do so many things. I was talking with Julia that I remember the time we talked together, not as a program manager and participant, but as friends, as people who know each other. Because you share your day-to-day life. And the last thing I learned from IPDET, very important for me to shape my skill, was how I got to frame the huge bag, When you're coming to IPDET, you receive a mail, maybe from Mary, that you have to keep, say, 50 kilograms aside. Because you go back with a lot of books, documents. Be sure that you have free space to get these books with you. And then it helps a lot. So finally, just to say it, right, IPDET is a good place to shape your skill and to be into a family.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Kathryn.
Well, some things about IPDET have definitely remained the same through the years. But before I go on, I'd like to put you back in the context a little more of what it was like back in 2001. We have all changed so much over the past 15 years that I think it's kind of neat to remember what the mindsets were like. I came to IPDET more or less by accident, not having applied and tried. I came to it because I had been given the responsibility of policy development for the Multilateral Investment Fund. The Multilateral Investment Fund had been set up in the mid-90s in the huge wave of enthusiasm about the Washington Consensus, where the private sector was going to make the world a much better place for everyone. All you had to do was change a regulatory set, and the market would do everything else. And the fund had been set up with a lot of money. It had $500 million and was doing a lot of projects in Latin America and the Caribbean to support this kind of regulatory change. When I came in, looking at, now I've got the new responsibilities of policy development, I thought, okay, the first thing I need to do is see what we have been doing. What difference have we been making? How's it all going? And I quickly came to the realization that answering that question was nearly impossible. People could tell me whether the projects had dispersed money. Oh, they kept track of that. People could tell me whether contracts had been let according to the rules. But nobody seemed to have a good thematic grasp over, were we making a difference? So, by happenstance, I happened to come across the idea of evaluation, came to the first course. Now, I came actually highly skeptical. A few of the field officers had told me that evaluation was just a royal waste of time, that all it was, it cost a whole lot, it made people fill out a whole lot of paperwork, it did not relate to the real world of implementing projects in the field, and it largely was sort of a huge paper exercise. So I came as a very skeptical participant in IPDET. I also came thinking the whole thing would be rather easy. You know, when you first look at the idea of the basic, you figure out what you want to do, you figure out the resources you need, you clarify who's going to do what to whom, when, and where. You've got your project design, and then you can go back and check whether it worked. It all sounds like it should be a very easy process. Well, that 3-week period was a humbling experience, as I quickly found that I tended to be the lowest in the group. We used to get little check marks back, like little scorecards. Do you remember that from the first year? And my little scorecards wouldn't be very good. And I learned to trust the other people in the group. All these different people from different walks of life. And the lesson I took away from that is the same one that you started out with, which is the importance of network. The takeaway for me was get a network that aren't people that are the same as yourself. Variety will give you all kinds of new ideas. And so for me, that was IPDET. Humbling, and thank goodness I had a network.
Yeah. She's also very kind, and reminiscing about that first year of IPDET, I think Kathryn was one of the folks who ended up asking for cleaning supplies because we were not in facilities that year that were anything remotely like this beautiful building that we are in now. The graduate dormitories, Res Commons, Leeds that you are in now hadn't been built then. And things were
more basic.
Substantively, in terms of the curriculum, not so dissimilar, but in terms of maybe accommodations and learning conditions, maybe not so similar. So, learning-wise, I think the experience is fairly similar, but in terms of living, not so similar. In terms of networking, probably as similar. Smaller numbers in those days, in that first class. But still, I think the networking from year to year to year has always been voiced as one of the most important benefits and long-lasting benefits of IPDET. And truly, friendships that are made here last many, many years. And that you can go to almost any country in the world and find IPDET cousins is a true, I think, benefit of the program.
And it'll help you when you run up against where you're trying to do a meta-analysis and you think, crumbs, I don't know how to do this, and you know someone to call. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Let me give you another question. Question 2. All right, you're here. This question is we know that all of you who are here in the room have been immersed in learning, struggling with that, with many questions and issues. You're going to have to go back to the real world and try to integrate this learning with the day-to-day realities that you face, right? And so we'd like to hear from Kathryn and Eric about some of the issues, maybe some of the successes, some of the challenges that they faced in really integrating what they learned here into the day-to-day realities that they faced when they returned into their home, into your workplaces.
I'm going to pick on him first again.
Would you like that?
Oh, no. You can pick
All
on
right.
me.
This time, it's your time to go first.
Okay.
Remember what it was, the mindset was quite different 15 years ago. The average person working in the field of development was actually not a true believer at all in the idea of evaluation playing a key role in enhancing development effectiveness. It just wasn't like that. So I returned, to this, from this course, and I got hit with the major project of trying to manage and organize a big replenishment of the myth. Now, for any of you, you know how hard it is getting money from governments. We had a target of getting $500 million from our, at that time, 28 member countries. This was not a small commitment. And when I looked at the story that we had to tell, to me it wasn't a compelling one. I thought, how can, we say that working on private sector development, because remember, we were very focused on that one issue. When you're competing, at that time we were competing with the Global Fund that was just going out. We were competing with a replenishment of IDA. And we thought, oh, we're in trouble. We're going to have a hard sell here. So what we decided, and we went to our donors, and with the simple premise, we said, we're going to come asking you for money. Now, you who know us well like us, because they understood the work we were trying to do. But we said, how are we going to convince your governments to give us money? It was a very simple motivation. And what we said is, give us additional funding to pay for a massive evaluation of all of our projects. We actually evaluated 80% of our projects, and at that time, I believe there were about 400 projects that were evaluated. It was a massive program. We went out, I got pretty good at doing those contracts, at, hiring consultants. It was a very big evaluation push. And we said to our donors, we don't know what the answer is going to be. And indeed, those evaluations came back when we put them all together. It came that about 1/3 of our projects had been absolutely stunning, had been wonderful, had been the kind that you want to tell your mother and aunt about. About 1/3 had been, okay. And about 1/3, arguably, had done harm. And we went to donors with this story. And we said, we are going to be the learning organization. We're not afraid of telling you that we did not succeed, because to learn from failure is as good as learning from success. Let's not be afraid of taking a real serious evaluation. We can do it. And to make a long story short, we did get funding, and we had 4 additional countries joined in. Now, I just wanted to convey this, because that was actually, I'm compressing a lot of heartache, a lot of anxiousness, a lot of difficulty into our few minutes that we've got. But the core message is, you needn't be afraid of finding the negative, because learning can happen as well from a negative as from the positive. And to me, evaluators really need to keep communicating that message, because a lot of the skepticism, a lot of the distrust of evaluation that still exists comes from people thinking it's a punitive exercise instead of a learning exercise.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Eric?
Well, I think I'm in the face of my clients, because usually my life is like a freelance consultant. When I joined IPDET, as I was saying at the beginning, is to look at how to be more skillful and be able to deliver and respond to demand for organizations. Maybe I have to start with the succeed. What I achieved, what was great. The first thing, as you remember yesterday after the lecture, chapter 12 or 11, there's a note. The note, if I can say it in other words, say that, how can I integrate all this into my knowledge? But you should better say it as it is stated, that how can I synthesize and look at what is good for me? This is what I think we should do when you don't eat that. Because you are going back with a huge, I may say huge number of books, knowledge. Remember, from one chapter to another, there are several things you have to learn. From the designs, data collections, analysis. You have so many things at the same time. Then I successfully thought to myself, now Eric, you can be a real consultant. The first thing I did was to propose an M&A system to one Canadian NGO in French. So I have to synthesize everything as a consultant and propose an M&A system with many steps to the NGO. And today, the director, at that time, he was technician. He was a technician. Today, he's the director of one of the Agri Conseil d'Ottawa in Gatineau. The second thing, because I want to resume this into three aspects: expertise advisor, evaluation capacity development, and training or lecturing. Because today I'm teaching evaluation of public policy with the University of Constantine II in Nigeria. I also do it with the University of Yaoundé II in Yaoundé. We just discussed the contract, and then I'm teaching PhD students. But I'm not a PhD guy. I don't have a PhD. I'm teaching as an expert. My contract with Algeria is as an expert, and with Yaoundé is as an expert. But many people may say, oh my God, strange. How come somebody who have a PhD is delivering a lecture to PhD student? No, it's not possible. I think in many spheres of the world, it's not allowed, right? Then, just to say that, you have to synthesize the knowledge, look at what is needed or requested by institution, by organization, by the state. Let's move to evaluation capacity development aspect. There were many calls, as I was talking to Linda yesterday. The demand is huge. The demand is more than what you can imagine. Why? Because from, let's say, America, North and South, to Africa, Europe, and Asia, you may find different demand and different need for evaluation, depending to the context. And then I work with VOPES, because I joined IPDET as AFREA interim president at that time. And then AFREA has about, today, 32 national evaluation associations. And the objective is to cover the 54 countries, with each country with one VOPES. It was not easy now, because we have to deliver workshop from time to time. Just take some piece of what we receive from IPDET and then develop it, make it what is needed, according to each teams. Then we succeed with our colleagues to prepare the last 7 Africa conference in Yaoundé, because our conference all the times gather at least 500 participants worldwide. So you have to be technically sitting down to decide what is it you are looking from the team, what is very more important. So with colleague, because many people from Africa was coming from IPDET, they were IPDET participants before me. And then even today, I'm working with Algeria on the way to get their own national evaluation associations. I was there in May. I will be there again in September to look at the way, what are the best alternative to work with UNDP in Nigeria and support Algerian people to get their own VOPEs. But to do this, you have to prepare some workshop in evaluation. And then it means that you have to prepare some lessons, some learning to deliver. So you have to do all this from your mind, to your knowledge and experience. Mm-hmm. Then on the teaching or training side, what I do is like going back of my book, because if you go to my place in Yaoundé, my office, I pack all the books. Books are there. And the best one is the 10-step to M&E system. I mean, the big one, it weighs about 5 kilograms, maybe 6 kilos, right? I always take it piece by piece and prepare some framework. I'm coming from DRC, Congo, where I'm working as team leaders for evaluation. We didn't start, but I used to prepare my technical proposal by going through all those books, look at what is needed, and prepare. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm saying, Kathryn, you are maybe one of my commissioners to evaluations.
I would like to just add 2 more things to this point, because the example that I gave was the example of a woman that went back from IPDET and was completely overwhelmed, like, wow. You cannot remember everything that you are exposed to during this period. It's humanly impossible. But the key thing is to remember that knowledge like that exists and have an idea of where you can go to get it when you need it. And so this is your lifeline. If you forget, you can go to your network and you can say, when I was hit with meta-analysis, I thought, oh crap. You have people that you can also ask, and they might remember. They'll say, oh, in that one book or that one handout, there's good guidance. So you don't have to remember it all at once. Be like businesses. Business around the world now is into this just-in-time delivery. Well, you can have just-in-time delivery of information and knowledge. Mm-hmm. Think about that.
Yeah. So but there were many challenges, to do this kind of advising or consultant job by applying what we learned from IPDET. I may go into 2 or 3 challenges. The first one is the context and culture. We are talking about the same thing: evaluation, methodology, tool, approach. I don't think during the lecture or Ray or Linda delivery that mentioned like education only or health or infrastructure. No, it's just about approach, tool, and techniques. Then when you move to Canada, to any state to do evaluations, maybe to Asia, in Pakistan or Philippines, you are going to face different environment. Of course, we are going to do evaluations. But one of the great challenges is the context and culture. You have to consider where you are evaluating. Most of the time, you may find into some TOR, I think there are great experts in this room. Oh, they say we are looking for somebody with this kind of background, with this knowledge. This is very important. Why? Because if you are not familiar with the context, you may be more skillful, maybe with 5 bags of PhD in evaluations, but you fail to deliver. Why culture? Because the way people are thinking reflecting may influence your job as evaluator. So I don't know what to say. I don't know if I would say fortunately or unfortunately, I was working in Africa. It's the most complex continent you have in the world. I did evaluation in Lesotho with FAO. I did evaluation in Nigeria for CBM. It was like working with disabled people. Can you imagine? You are moving from where you have good, nice place to the evaluations with everything, video, recording, everything, to a village where you don't have anything. But you have to do your job, and people are waiting to you. The second thing as an advisor is the contractualizations. Most of M&E officer may have more or less skill in evaluations. You receive TOR in evaluations. Okay, final evaluation of OPCD's education in Bangladesh. Okay, we know many things inside. But as an expert, you have to go through and look at, oh my God, this TOR, is it good or not? And discuss with your commissioners. And look at the way to agree that, okay, can we rephrase the TOR or not? If yes, then you have a good client. Then we go through, we'll revise the TOR before going on the field. And then within the contractualization step, as we saw this morning, I think it was a lesson for this morning, how to get to maybe in contracts. You may get some clients who don't want to discuss, to argue about the step on their missions. It's either you accept or not. But our evaluators, you already know, I have to step back if they don't want to agree and be participative. Why? Because most of the times, one step into evaluation is insertion phase. Most company doesn't know why we have to do an insertion phase. Because this is the beginning when you get a bit to do your evaluations, where you discuss about methodology, you agree about the length, calendar, you agree about everything. So that at the end, you deliver what we call initial reports before now starting your evaluations. This is another challenge as evaluators.
Thank you.
Then I think you have to stop because there are so many challenges
Thanks, Seth.
when you are working as a consultant on the field. There are so many.
Thank you, Eric. I think just one challenge that I see is, I think back in 2001, there were not that many trained people around. When you completed IPDET, you were special. You were special. And I think that it was easier then for those that were looking for jobs. It was a bit easier to get hired with IPDET training. Now I see the terms of reference that come out, it's a bit more difficult, right? If you're entry level and IPDET is what you have and you don't have a lot of experience behind you, and IPDET is basically what you're putting down on that resume. If you notice, a lot of the terms of reference, it's harder to break in because they're very specific about what it is they're looking for. So they're asking for years of experience in this particular country. They're looking for languages. They're looking for specific sector experience. And it's a bit more difficult now to get that experience. And we've been having some interesting conversations on breaking in, because it's not 2001 anymore. And we have many more M&E specialists. I think Eric's been fortunate by virtue probably of his professional activities a lot in Africa, to be able to break in more easily, get more consulting opportunities than some other folks who have been through IPDET, and some of them have had more difficulty breaking into that first job, which is an interesting issue. But I think our last major question is about sort of looking at the picture. Where do you see what are issues or opportunities that you would see for IPDET going forward as we start looking I don't know, the next 15 years is a long way forward to look at. 15 years is a long way off, but just looking forward even at, the next 5 years, what issues, opportunities do you see for IPDET? So, Kathryn, would you like to start us off on that?
This is such a big question because IPDET exists to serve, promote, enrich an idea that is a very profound idea that has now become more than common practice. It's almost a belief system among the people working on the whole issue set of development in every different kind of context. And that is that all of our efforts need to be results-based. Evaluation is part of that system. Evaluation depends on the complete system if evaluation is going to, in fact, have the impact that it needs to have to justify the tremendous expense in money and in effort that goes into evaluation. Let me just challenge you. You, I'm sure by now, have learned about a theory of change, right? Okay. What is the theory of change for your evaluation program? What development impact do you expect to have because of the work that you will do evaluating specific initiatives, specific projects? I feel that unless we bring the same kind of rigor that you're learning this during this period, you're learning, quite a few techniques that bring a kind of intellectual rigor to project design. It brings a rigor to figuring out how you look at the experience of a project and see whether, in fact, it was true to its original theory of change, understanding why it wasn't or what changes were made. All of those techniques, what good are they for unless it is couched within a development theory of change? At the annual meeting, I'm probably a little influenced by this because at the spring meeting, there was a very interesting panel that said, why do we focus on results when no one uses them? Now, that's a very provocative question. And they had some really interesting speakers there addressing that issue. Because an evaluation is, when well done, it's evidence that demonstrates result or lack of result. It's evidence that adds to understanding that you either got the result or didn't, and why. But if people aren't using those results to alter their future behavior, then should governments all around the world be spending this much effort and money on evaluation? I mean, I just pose that question. I think there are implicit theories of change for the whole evaluation activity. Because I come from a policy background and spent a lot of my career interfacing with politicians, where you are trying as a public servant to talk to a minister, talk to a prime minister, and actually try to convince them that they should be doing something different. Evidence was essential in that conversation, but it was not sufficient. No minister was impressed by the fact that you said, well, of the last 5 projects done on this kind of financial sector reform, they met their theory of change, blah, blah, blah. But they all hungered for a storyline that would answer the question, what works? What can I do in my country? Now, many of you will not, in your careers, you may well be specialists that are producing the evidence that will be needed during that conversation. But I do challenge you to think about it. If you come from as many, I looked at all your different organizations and I tried to guess. There are a few basic de facto theories of change, in my view, for the evaluation function that exist right now. One of them is, frankly, pretty basic. It boils down to donors insist upon it, so we have to do it. The implicit theory of change there is that if we go through all this activity, we will get more money. Hey, it's a theory of change, not really elegant, but there it is. And if that's really what's driving your program, then you will see evidence of that in the design of your programs, in the allocation of resources, and it's sort of useful to take that technique and look at it. Another big theory of change is that if we evaluate projects, projects will be implemented in a more honest and more efficient manner. A lot of our systems, especially the ones that focus more on the monitoring side, that is, in fact, the theory of change behind the design of lots of the evaluation programs. If that's your kind of system, just be aware of it. You might agree or disagree. If you disagree, you try to change people's minds and have a different theory of change. Because of my background, the theory of change that I like and I'm strongly biased for, and so I'm going to shamelessly use this moment to pitch for it, is that I think we're all should be in the business of strengthening the internal and natural development processes of every single different country and society. I cringe when I hear the word best practice. I do, because that, to me, I get the sense that people are saying there's one good way to do things that's good for one, good for all. Now, there are techniques that are really time, tested. You will be learning a lot of those this week or these weeks. So I'm not sort of arguing against using time-tested techniques. But when you go back home and you are integrating all of this massive information, you'll need to synthesize, to pick that which is most appropriate for your circumstance. And in doing so, the theory of change I like the most is be an advocate for evaluation as a learning tool. It helps move it away from the punitive, you didn't implement that project right, so you're to blame. If it becomes clear that all the results of evaluation are valid, that they're all equally worthy, that you're not using it as a way to blame somebody that their project did not implement well. Instead, you're saying, let's learn from this. Let's really understand it so we can alter future behavior. That's my pitch. I'm very big on the whole results-based system if it is a learning tool. So thank you.
Thank you. We hope we have a learning tool, but we hope our paradigm is one of, use for evidence-based decision-making. We focus on use, we focus on building in use from the get-go. And if we're not there up front, if we're not building in use, if we're not working with stakeholders, we're not going to have it. And I think that's what IPDET tries to push. That's what we try to do from the beginning. And we try to get that from the theory of change all the way on as we build our matrix, so hopefully. All right. Opportunities for IPDET issues.
I have to agree with Kathryn. As any organizations, there may be internal features on policy. But for IPDET, who is playing a great role with big goals to build skill, to evaluate development interventions, I think it's good that, as Kathryn said, we start with a theory of change within IPDET to look at, are we achieved after 15 years? I think today is a 15 years birthday of IPDET, right? Maybe Ray, there's a cake. We are going to share the cake, even though I'm going to go to stay till day 30 or day 28, or maybe that 24 weeks, right? But I hope I will get my piece of cake. Just to say that after 15 years, maybe you need to get kind of internal assessment by applying kind of theory of change to look at where do we have to direct IPDET by the next 5 years, to come back to your question, Linda. But being an external person to IPDET, I'm sure the demand is very high. I don't know how many people you receive every year as applicants who want to be part of IPDET from all over the world. I remember in Helsinki, you said that
Hundreds and hundreds.
there were lots of thousands and thousands of applicants. Yeah. I think this
over 1,000.
more than even more. Maybe I hope you didn't reach me. No, I don't have to say it. But by doing kind of diagnosis at race or learning also how to do a design, we maybe reach to a certain level to get kind of good decision-based making. Are we going to keep the same format for IPDET? Are we going to keep the same number of people per year? I would think we have to dedicate IPDET, we get kind of mini IPDET per continent based on the demand. There are many, many alternatives to shape the future of IPDET. There are many. As Kathryn said, internally, we have to look at what is possible to do in terms of resources. If you want to ship IPDET to the 6th continent, are we able to succeed to deliver good training to these people? Do we have sufficient resources to achieve this objective? Are we going to keep the same format if you move to Europe with a mini IPDET or in Africa? Because in Africa, the demand is more higher than everywhere. One thing is true, the cost to be in IPDET is very expensive. How can we be able to provide this knowledge to people around the world who need evaluations? But one thing is true, the culture of evaluation is not yet evident for all people and all states and all organizations. No, there are so many institutions and states who don't have a culture of evaluation internally. So what you are doing, building skill of people to support the evaluation of development interventions is very important. So I have to be brief to just say that I'll get you back the question to look at internally what is possible. Of course, we are here to help Kathryn also to see how we can work together. Mm-hmm. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Those were some provocative thoughts. Thank you. Thank you. You know, it is late, and I think tonight, I know you have all been working hard. We have another big last day and final push tomorrow. So I think we're not going to take questions tonight, if that's all right with you. I want to thank our panelists. Thank you so much for this and your very thoughtful comments. We have a little something for you. Stay. A little something for you. A little two somethings for you. This doesn't violate anybody's price guidelines. We have for each of you, I'm not going to take it out. I think we've all seen them. A little stick, a little power stick for when you travel. for powering your
Always nice.
laptops and your
Always
gadgets for like up to 26 hours of power for your, iPads and laptops and all those good things. And then we have a very beautiful commemorative paperweight, and it celebrates IPDET's 15th anniversary year. So we have this for each of you as well.
Thank you.
And we thank you very much for sharing your thoughts about IPDET with us. Thank you very, very much. And all of you, we wish you a good evening, and thank you. And we'll see you at 9 o'clock tomorrow for day 9. Day 9. IPDET 2015. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.